In a stunning turn of events that has shaken the Middle East to its core, Bashar al-Assad's iron grip on Syria has finally come to an end. Abu Muhammad al-Golani, once a controversial figure in Syria's complex civil war, has emerged as the country's new leader. This unprecedented power shift raises critical questions about Syria's future, regional stability, and the intricate web of international relationships that have long defined Middle Eastern politics. Today, we'll explore who Golani really is, examine claims about his ideological evolution from militant to moderate, and analyze how this dramatic change in leadership could reshape the balance of power, from Iran's influence to Russia's strategic interests and Turkey's regional ambitions. We'll also look at what this means for Syria's future and its implications for Israeli security. Abu Muhammad al-Golani's rise to power traces back to his roots in Syria's Golan Heights, from which he derived his nom de guerre. Born as Ahmed Hussein al-Sharaa, Golani's journey to leadership began during the Iraq War, where he joined insurgent groups fighting American forces. It was during this period that he formed crucial connections with what would later become al-Qaeda in Iraq. Following the outbreak of Syria's civil war in 2011, Golani returned to his homeland and established Jabhat al-Nusra, initially one of the most effective rebel groups fighting against Assad's regime. Under his leadership, the group gained significant territory and influence, particularly in Syria's northwest. However, in a remarkable transformation that surprised many observers, Golani began a calculated process of political evolution. In 2016, he publicly broke ties with al-Qaeda, rebranding his organization as Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. This marked the beginning of his effort to shed his radical image and position himself as a more moderate, pragmatic leader. He traded his traditional militant attire for business suits and began engaging with Western journalists and political figures. Through strategic alliances and careful political maneuvering, he consolidated control over Idlib province, where he established a civil administration that effectively functioned as a proto-state. This transformation from militant leader to political figure wasn't without controversy, but it demonstrated Golani's remarkable ability to adapt and survive in Syria's complex political landscape. His evolution from a battlefield commander to a self-styled statesman culminated in his eventual rise to national leadership, marking one of the most dramatic personal transformations in modern Middle Eastern politics. The debate over Abu Muhammad al-Golani's true ideological stance remains one of the most contentious aspects of his leadership. While he has undergone a visible transformation in recent years, questions persist about whether this change represents genuine moderation or merely strategic adaptation. His current political positioning reflects a delicate balance between pragmatism and his historical ideological roots. In his governance of Syria, Golani has implemented what he calls a moderate interpretation of Islamic law, notably different from the harsh applications seen in other militant-controlled territories. Women are permitted to work in various sectors, including government offices, though with certain restrictions. Educational institutions remain open to both genders, and religious minorities, while subject to specific regulations, are officially protected under his administration. Yet skeptics point to his past leadership of extremist organizations and question whether his newfound moderation is merely a tactical shift. His security apparatus maintains strict control over civil society, and political opposition faces significant constraints. International observers note that while his governance style has evolved, certain authoritarian elements persist, particularly in dealing with dissent. Golani's current approach to international relations perhaps best illustrates his ideological evolution. He has actively sought diplomatic engagement with regional and Western powers, attempting to present himself as a stable, pragmatic partner. His administration has shown willingness to engage in economic cooperation with neighboring countries and has made overtures to potential international investors, marking a sharp departure from his earlier militant isolationism. Critics and supporters alike acknowledge that his governance model represents a unique hybrid, combining elements of traditional Islamic governance with modern state administration. Whether this represents true ideological moderation or simply political expedience remains a crucial question as Syria enters this new chapter under his leadership. The rise of Golani to power in Syria has dramatically altered the regional power dynamics, particularly affecting three major players: Iran, Russia, and Turkey. For Iran, this shift represents a significant setback in its regional influence. The fall of Assad means the loss of a crucial ally in Tehran's axis of resistance, potentially disrupting its land bridge to Lebanon and its ability to support Hezbollah. Russia faces an even more direct challenge to its strategic interests. The naval base in Tartus, Russia's only Mediterranean port, now hangs in the balance. Golani's ascension threatens decades of Russian military presence in the region, potentially weakening Moscow's ability to project power beyond the Black Sea. This development could fundamentally reshape Russia's strategic position in the Middle East and its ability to influence regional politics. Turkey, however, might find opportunities in this new arrangement. Ankaра's historical support for various opposition groups in northern Syria, combined with its significant influence over rebel factions, positions it to potentially become a key power broker in post-Assad Syria. The Turkish government's previous engagement with Golani's forces in Idlib province could now evolve into a more formal diplomatic relationship. The new power dynamics are creating unusual alignments. States that were previously united in their support of Assad now find themselves competing for influence in the new Syria. Regional powers like Saudi Arabia and Qatar are reassessing their positions, potentially seeing an opportunity to counter Iranian influence. The United Arab Emirates, which had begun normalizing relations with Assad's government, must now recalibrate its approach. This reshuffling of regional power dynamics extends beyond immediate neighbors. China's economic interests in Syrian reconstruction may face uncertainty, while Western powers grapple with whether to engage with Golani's government. The Mediterranean's strategic significance as an international waterway adds another layer of complexity, as multiple powers seek to secure their interests in this crucial maritime region. Under Golani's leadership, Syria is poised for transformative changes that will reshape both its internal dynamics and international standing. The highly centralized state apparatus that characterized Assad's rule is likely to give way to a more decentralized governance structure, with different regions exercising varying degrees of autonomy. This shift reflects the reality of Syria's fractured political landscape and the need to accommodate diverse local power centers. In terms of domestic policy, Golani's administration appears to be pursuing a pragmatic approach to reconstruction and governance. The focus is increasingly on rebuilding critical infrastructure, reviving the economy, and establishing basic services in areas long devastated by civil war. However, this reconstruction effort faces immense challenges, including widespread destruction, depleted resources, and the massive displacement of skilled workers and professionals. The social fabric of Syria is also undergoing significant changes. The return of refugees and internally displaced persons has become a central issue, complicated by property rights disputes and the need for reconciliation between different communities. While Golani's leadership has shown some flexibility in dealing with Syria's diverse population, questions remain about the integration of various ethnic and religious groups into the new political framework. On the international stage, Syria, under Golani, is attempting to break free from its diplomatic isolation. There's a visible effort to present a more moderate image to the international community, particularly to Western nations whose support is crucial for reconstruction. This includes attempts to distance the new government from its more radical past and position Syria as a stable partner in regional affairs. The economic dimension of the new Syria presents both challenges and opportunities. The government is actively seeking foreign investment and aid, particularly from Gulf states and Turkey, to fund reconstruction efforts. However, this economic outreach must navigate existing international sanctions and the complex web of regional rivalries. The new administration's ability to attract international capital while maintaining its independence will be crucial for Syria's recovery. Syria's strategic realignment is perhaps most evident in its shifting diplomatic relationships. Moving away from the Iran-Russia axis, the new government is cultivating closer ties with regional Sunni powers and exploring possibilities for normalized relations with Western countries. This reorientation, however, must be balanced against existing commitments and the practical necessities of maintaining stability in a volatile region. The shift in Syrian leadership brings unprecedented challenges and opportunities for Israel's security landscape. The emergence of Golani as Syria's leader introduces a complex new dynamic in Israeli-Syrian relations, marking a significant departure from the predictable, albeit hostile, relationship that existed under Assad's regime. For Israel, the immediate concern centers on the stability of the Golan Heights border region. While the Assad regime maintained a relatively quiet frontier for decades through deterrence, Golani's leadership presents uncertainties about the continuation of this status quo. The potential for increased military activity along this strategic border requires Israel to reassess its northern defense posture. The nature of Syria's new military alliances and capabilities under Golani's leadership directly impacts Israeli security calculations. The potential reduction of Iranian influence in Syria could significantly alter the strategic equation, possibly diminishing the threat of Iranian-backed forces near Israel's borders. However, this power vacuum could lead to the emergence of new security challenges, including the potential for more autonomous militant groups operating in the border region. The question of Syria's chemical weapons program and other strategic capabilities remains a critical concern for Israeli defense planners. While Golani has indicated a desire for international legitimacy, Israel must carefully monitor any attempts to maintain or rebuild non-conventional military capabilities that could threaten its security interests. On the diplomatic front, there's a delicate balance between opportunity and caution. While Golani's apparent break from Iran's orbit might create openings for back-channel diplomacy, Israel must weigh these possibilities against the risks of engaging with a leader whose long-term intentions and commitment to regional stability remain uncertain. The potential for limited economic cooperation through third parties could serve as a testing ground for more substantial diplomatic initiatives. Israel's strategic depth is also affected by shifts in Syria's international alignments. The potential weakening of the Russia-Syria-Iran axis could create new regional dynamics, possibly leading to a more complex but less immediately hostile northern front. However, this could also introduce new variables in the form of Turkish influence and changing power dynamics among Syria's various internal factions. The emergence of Abu Mohammed al-Golani as Syria's new leader represents a pivotal moment in Middle Eastern politics, fundamentally reshaping regional dynamics that have remained relatively stable for decades. This transition from Assad's rule signals not just a change in leadership, but potentially a complete transformation of Syria's role in the regional power structure. The implications of this shift extend far beyond Syria's borders. We're likely to see significant realignments in regional alliances, with Iran's influence potentially diminishing while Turkey's role may expand. Russia's strategic position in the Mediterranean hangs in the balance, and Israel faces a new security paradigm that could either evolve into cautious cooperation or renewed tensions. Looking ahead, the success or failure of Golani's leadership will largely depend on his ability to balance competing international interests while addressing Syria's internal challenges. The international community's response to this transition, particularly from regional powers and global actors, will be crucial in determining whether Syria emerges as a stabilizing force or continues to be a source of regional tension. What's clear is that the Syrian political landscape has entered uncharted territory, with consequences that will resonate throughout the Middle East and beyond.